Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast. I'm your host, Robert Smith, along with my co-host, Adam Stellman. Today, we'll be discussing our Week 6 matchup at the Cincinnati Bengals. Adam, let's talk Seahawks.
I got to tell you, this is I think this is our first big test of the season. I mean, I know we can go back and talk about Week 1 and the game against the Rams, but no, I really do think that this is our very, very first big test, and feel a little bit scared, a little hesitant, but I think I'm gonna try and have a positive mental attitude about this, and I'm gonna will a win into existence. So that's the goal for this episode for me: willing a win into existence.
Excellent. Hey, if it works, it works. I just want to see us build on what we did before. Hopefully, people are healthy. We'll talk about that when we go over injuries. There's a lot that we can look at, and let's not forget the Cincinnati Bengals look pretty darn good this last week. So
They did.
yeah, so I'm with you. Let's make this happen. Power of positivity, right? Let's put that energy out in the world and go. Hopefully, it trickles down to the Seahawks, lifts them up, makes a win. I'd be all for that.
Yeah,
But
not
first,
our MO, but let's change it up.
yeah, exactly. Hey, we're trying to be positive, right? If you watch
Right.
the bye week episode, you'll see we tried to take a little more of a positive spin, right? I don't want to feel really heavy after coming off this episode or these podcasts. Let's try to keep it light, and we will undoubtedly drift negative at times, but thus is life. So first, let's talk a little bit about news, right? There's some stuff going on around the league. There's only one thing I really want to touch on, and that's because it affects not really affects, but
It does.
it impacts a former Seahawk. There we go. So the Denver Broncos have been pretty much atrocious since Seattle fleeced them out of some picks, right? We're looking at a year and a half of Broncos ineptitude. They've made coaching changes. What's left to do? Well, some people have been talking. Perhaps the Denver Broncos need to shut down quarterback Russell Wilson. Right? Does he need to sit? Do they need to just enter that Caleb Williams draft lottery race and try to go get this once in a generation quarterback prospect, as some scouts are saying? I don't know. What do you think?
It's an interesting argument to make. I would say that based on how it's gone so far over the last year and a half, I don't know if shutting down Russell Wilson is going to help them get Caleb Williams. Just because, look, they haven't been able to win with Russ, and it hasn't all been Russ. He has had some good moments. He's definitely had more bad moments. He looked like he was starting to turn it around. Not last week, obviously, but or not Thursday night, obviously, but the week before and the week before that, it looked like Russ wasn't the problem. He was definitely the problem Thursday night. And obviously he, giving up the fumble late against the Jets was on him as well. Yeah, I don't know, man. Russ, something needs to happen. Something needs to change, and I don't know what it is. I'm not, obviously I'm not following the Broncos as closely as I am the Seahawks this year because we really don't have as much invested in what the Broncos outcome is. We do. I should mention though, we do still have the Broncos 2024 third round pick. Or we have, sorry, a Broncos 2024 third round pick. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the specifics are. I know that it's going to be one of the two third rounds that they currently have. They have their own third rounder. They also have the Saints third rounder. That came over in the Sean Payton trade. And I'm not sure which one of those will belong to us because I believe that it varies depending on the outcome of the total outcome of the season. But yeah, it's been hard for me to watch Russ play because look, I still love Russ. I definitely was rooting against him, quote unquote, last year because I wanted the Seahawks to have a better draft pick. I definitely was going into the season rooting for him, and yeah, this has not been a good change for Russell Wilson. Denver has not been, I think, the boon to his career that he thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's true. And then you also have to keep in mind that Caleb Williams isn't a senior. So there's all this talk about, oh, the number one team is going to end up drafting Caleb Williams. Well, Caleb Williams will make more money staying in college with the new name, image, likeness. So if he doesn't like who's picking at the top of the draft, just stay in college. You'll make more money.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's already said that's an option for him. So he's definitely look. We already talked a little bit in the offseason about how the NIL has changed where the leverage is at for college players, and it really gave, especially guys at the top of the draft, that much more leverage. I mean, you go back, you look whether it was the John Elway Denver draft, or if you want to talk about the Eli Manning draft, the quarterbacks already had a lot of leverage, especially at the top of the draft. So this is just increased that and multiplied it. So yeah, I think Caleb Williams is the guy holding all the cards here. So we'll see what ends up happening. I got to tell you, we're way away from draft season, but I'm already getting excited for it.
Oh, I'm always excited for the draft. I am all about player development and scouting, and I love getting in the nitty gritty, going and watching the Division III guys and small school guys and trying to find those gems. So once again, we on the podcast appreciate what Russell Wilson did in Seattle. We wish him the best moving forward. So Russell Wilson, hopefully the team can get it together. They don't shut you down for the year. So, all right.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. But moving into team news, we had a couple things happen this week of note. Some of those had to do with injuries and guys getting healthy. We'll talk about those when we talk about transactions and injuries. But as far as team news, we have to give a big old shout out to Geno Smith for his birthday here a couple days ago. Happy 33rd to Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Thank you for quarterbacking the Seahawks and looking pretty great doing it.
Yeah, look, Geno, and we already ate crow last year because going to last year, both of us on this podcast were not super high on the Geno Smith at the time experiment. Proven wrong, and he's showing it again. I mean, he's already on pace to duplicate, if not exceed, what he did last year, which is great for him, not only for his pocketbook because that means he's going to hit some of those increases on his contract. But look, he's got a 68% completion percentage right now, which is right on par with where he was at this point last year. He's only thrown one interception. I believe the Seahawks are the only team with one or fewer turnovers this season, which I think is great. So good on him and the coaching staff for hanging on to the ball. Yeah, kudos to Geno and happy birthday again, man.
All right, and then I know you have some comments about.
Oh, yes, I do.
What's kind of being blown up in the media. I think some of the national media is trying to make much ado about nothing.
No, certainly the national media wouldn't be doing that. Yeah, look, so DK was asked on Thursday about Jamar Chase specifically. He started out by praising Jamar Chase. Jamar's coming off of a huge game in Week 5, I believe he put up a Bengals record in catches and yards. He had 3 touchdowns. Massive game, albeit against a lackluster Arizona Cardinals defense. But still, he had a great game. So did Joe Burrow. And we can talk a little bit more about that later because I do think that there needs to be a caveat. They play the Arizona Cardinals. But DK ended his press conference by saying, or at least his response by saying that he thinks Devin Witherspoon, is going to get the better of Jamar Chase in this game. And that has been taken or blown way up. And now people are like, oh, that's locker room fodder. And you're just, you're, what do they say? One guy said, you're poking the sleeping tiger. And look, I do think that there are sometimes, and some players especially, we had one here, Richard Sherman for sure. Tom Brady was also one of those guys that would find anything to give himself that edge to, get him hyped up for the game. Maybe that's what's going to go on with Jamar Chase. They've already asked Jamar Chase about it. He brushed off. He said, look, that, he's supporting his guy. I get it. But we'll see what happens out on the field. I'm not putting a lot of stock in this. It wasn't like some big, Jamar Chase sucks comment. So we'll see if this has any effect on the game. I do think it's going to be a great matchup with Jamar Chase against this secondary, whether he's, paired up with Woolen, who I think is a great matchup for him, or Devin Witherspoon, or heck, even Mike Jackson or Trey Brown if he ends up playing. So, but yeah, The media is definitely trying to make this a thing, and good on them. They need to have something to talk about, and so DK, good job giving them something to talk about.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I'm going to support my guy. I don't care if it's undrafted, free agent, guy only starting because 3 guys in front of him are injured. I'm still going to support my guy up against the all pro. So,
Yeah.
though what he said, I believe, is true, it will be a great matchup between Witherspoon and Chase. You got to give credit to your guy for supporting his teammate.
Yeah.
The Seahawks made a few transactions. I expected them to make more over the bye week. Between the bye week and this week, they only made 2 transactions of note, and that both happened on the practice squad. They released safety Tease Tabor, who got a little bit of game action earlier this year. He saw the field a little bit last year when he was on and off the practice squad. And they signed quarterback Holton Ahlers, who was our preseason 3rd quarterback out of East Carolina, I believe. And he did a great job. He was really fun to watch. I like Ahlers. He's somebody I hoped would be on the practice squad for the whole season. I believe they signed him because Drew Lock found his way onto our injury report and was a limited participant this week in practice. So this much might be insurance in case he isn't able to go, because Drew Lock is a game time decision.
Yeah, and conversely, I think that's why they brought in Tease Tabor. Obviously, with the Jamal Adams injury, it helped to have another safety experienced in this system on the roster. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Seahawks are a smart front office. They know what they're doing. I agree that that's pretty minimal transactions for a bye week, but it is early in the season. They probably didn't feel like they needed to go out and make a ton of moves.
Yeah. Well, and something that Adam brought up, we actually didn't talk about it in news, but transactions that might happen. The Kansas City or the Denver Broncos have said that Frank Clark is available for trade and or will be cut if they can't find a trade partner. So might we see a reunion?
I'd love to see it. Not for a trade though. I'm not giving the Denver Broncos anything for him. But if he ends up hitting the free agent market, yeah, please bring Frank Clark in, because look, you can say what you want about what his what he did with his career after going to Kansas City. The man's a Super Bowl champion, and he knows how to turn it on, especially in the postseason. So if and when the Seahawks make the postseason, I'd love to have that extra sack monster on the squad.
Yeah, we already have a really deep pass rush group here on this team, but you're not going to argue with more sacks.
I believe our head coach has a quote that says you can never have too many pass rushers.
Yes, and if you look at our roster at times over the past 15 years or however long he's been here, that is exactly what it looks like. Looking at the injury report, though, I kind of teased it earlier. Questionable. We have Drew Lock. We'll see if Holton Ahlers is a game elevated guy from the practice squad. That will tell us a whole lot more about Drew Lock and his injury situation. And then doubtful is guard Damian Lewis, which I think could have actually a pretty big impact on our offensive line. He's one of the veterans on the team. But this is 3rd or 4th year with the Seahawks. And if you look at that offensive line, we got a lot of rookies and a lot of young guys. So somebody with a little bit of experience really helps keep that unit together. We saw in the Giants game when Damian Lewis went out that they had to make adjustments. So we'll have to see exactly what they do. Corbin Smith wrote an article for Sports Illustrated about just this thing, the injury report, and how the Seahawks could handle it. And I don't know, does Phil Haynes slot into his normal spot? Does Phil Haynes go to left guard? And we have Bradford come in at right guard. Do we do what happened in the Giants game where Evan Brown slides over to left guard and Oluwatimi comes into center? I'm not sure. And I'm actually not sure what the best option is. I will say Oluwatimi had over an 80 pass block grade in the Giants game. So perhaps that's a good call to get him some more snaps. But we'll have to see what this coaching staff, and especially this offensive line coaching staff, does to get ready for missing a key piece in an otherwise great week when you know you're going to get your starting left tackle back.
Charles Cross, welcome back.
Welcome back. Not even on the injury report for game decisions, because our final category is the out category, which has a couple of defensive backs. We have defensive back Colby Bryant. I refuse to call him a safety until he's starting at that position. So defensive back Colby Bryant is out, and corner Artie Burns is also out.
Which is funny because Artie Burns has actually started at safety for this team. So, of note, though, is the guy that we're getting back in that defensive back position, and that is Jamal Adams, who will be in this game after suffering a concussion against the Giants. And look, I'm excited to see it because I think that's the backfield we want. I think we want to play big nickel. I think we want to have those three safeties with Love, Diggs, and Adams out there at the same time. I'm looking forward to seeing it this game because I think it's going to happen.
So am I. And we've been hearing about what they want to do with this defense since preseason and camp and all of this. A lot of us were really confused with the Julian Love signing. And then they're like, oh, but we have plans. And so now we finally actually get to see what those plans were. Yeah, fingers crossed. Adam, how are those Bengals looking injury-wise?
Bengals are looking pretty healthy. They've got a few guys on the injury report. The biggest one of note is going to be Akeem Davis-Gathers, their second middle linebacker. He is definitely out. Has not participated all week. There's another player that also didn't participate this week, and that's their first round pick, Miles Murphy, who I believe they took 28th overall in this draft. Miles Murphy is out with NRI, which is a non-injury reason. It's personal. He's been away from the team all week. He hasn't been at practice. He doesn't have a designation for the game, so I'm not really sure. I tried figuring out if that meant something, if he was going to be there or not. Not sure. I do know, though, he has not been with the team or practicing all week, so he may or may not be playing. It is worth noting that he is currently listed as their third left defensive end. So whether or not he would get much playing time anyway or not. But look, the fewer pass rushers they have going after us, the better. So I'm okay with him being out. They do have several guys that are questionable. The biggest one, at least in my opinion, is going to be, and I'm going to butcher his name, Chidobe Awuzie, the cornerback. He's their starting left cornerback. He didn't participate on Wednesday, and he has been limited thus far in practice, so he's designated questionable for the game. If any of their questionables were not going to play, that would be the guy that I would think wouldn't be there. Him and also defensive tackle Josh Tupou. Again, guys, I'm not the name guy. Next time I'm going to have to get Robbie to pronounce these beforehand so I know what's going on. But anyway, he also has not participated this week, and he is listed as questionable. The two other guys on their injury report are going to be linebacker Devin Harper, who was a full participant on Friday. He is still listed as questionable. And, of course, their second wide receiver, T. Higgins, was also full participant in practice on Friday, but is listed as questionable with a rib injury. But look, it's kind of a similar situation with DK Metcalf. He's been on the injury report for a couple of weeks now. He's played. I expect him to play this game.
Yeah, you have to expect everybody's going to play because you'd hate to prepare for somebody not to be there and have them come in and have a matchup issue or something you have to adjust on the fly.
Right.
So as far as injuries go, we're getting Charles Cross back, and that's great.
Yes.
Being able to assure up that offensive line that actually held together pretty well while
Not
he
pretty
was
well,
out.
very well. It held
Very
together
well, yeah.
very well. Geno Smith is still the lowest sack, the least sack, or one of the top, I think, 5 least sack quarterbacks in the league so far through 4 weeks, or 5 weeks technically, 4 games. So the offensive line has done great. So kudos to our offensive line coach and, of course, our offensive coordinator.
So obviously, the offensive line playing well is going to lead to success on the team. But we came up with 5 other keys to success in this game. And number 1 in those keys to success is to hit the ground running. In both sense of the word. we had a great momentum going into the bye week, right? Went into the bye week, had a week to get healthy. Guys healed up. You see people coming off the injury report. So we need to keep that momentum, just rolling through games before that. So hit the ground running in that regard, but also in play selection, right? Energy, attitude, and play selection. We need to hit the ground running because the Cincinnati Bengals are second to last in the league in rush yards allowed in a game. So let's use that stable of running backs. Let's get Walker, Charbonnet, Dallas. Heck, you could put Jake Bobo back there as a running back and let him take a carry.
I'd be okay with that. I would absolutely be okay with that. Yeah, look, our running backs have been, I think, the key to our success over the last 3 weeks. We're coming off 3 straight wins, and it's been because we've been able to get both of these guys enough touches where they can affect the game in a positive way. Kenneth Walker obviously is the workhorse. I want to see him back there at least 15, 16, 17. If he can get it to 20 touches, we're going to win this game. Zach Charbonnet, the banger. If we can get a lead going into the fourth quarter, just hand it to Zach. Let him pound these guys into the ground. The man's a beast. And of course, let's throw DJ Dallas in there just in case you want to throw it a few times. Let's get him back there in pass coverage. Maybe get him something out of the backfield. But yeah, we need to be utilizing these running backs, which also means we need to be utilizing our tight ends. Look, I know we're getting Charles Cross back, and that's great. Love having our starting left tackle out there. But let's not forget that the success we've had has been because those tight ends have been out there for dang near every single play, helping that offensive line. Let's not take him out of the game now just because we got a healthy left tackle. Let's keep him in there. Let's keep him in there to run the ball. Let's keep him in there as diversions. Let's get Noah Fant some touches. Let's get Will Dissly some catches. Let's utilize Colby Parkinson's size in the red zone. But yeah, let's hit the ground running. Let's put up. And look, I said it last week. The way that we need to go into this game is by putting up points fast and furious, man. We need to make sure that we do not get behind in this game because we know the Bengals can put up points in bunches. So let's make sure that they're chasing us and not the other way around.
Yeah, in fact, you mentioned hit the ground running, right? We need to get those guys some work. I actually put a bet down on Charbonnet to get his first touchdown this week. So, hey, DraftKings, I believe Adam and I both have accounts. We are betting individuals. If you would like to sponsor this podcast, we are open to any level of sponsorship. So, hey,
absolutely,
we could be the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast by DraftKings.
Brought to you by DraftKings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. That's got a good ring to it.
That does. We are open. Feel free to reach out on any platform where you see us. All right. Our second key to success is to control the zone. Adam?
Yeah, look, that's me just throwing in a baseball reference. Hashtag Seattle Mariners. Love you, Blue. Look, we need to control the zone in several ways here. Number one is we need to control the zone on offense. And by that, I mean we need to get JSN open in the middle of that field. Let's utilize this guy the way we should have been utilizing him all year, and that's to get the ball moving on second and third down. Let's keep ourselves in manageable positions. But let's feed him. Look, this guy's been underutilized all season, and I know part of that's been necessity. We need to keep our tight ends on the field, which means fewer snaps for JSN. And I already said I didn't want to take our tight ends off the field, but let's see a little bit more 11 personnel now that we've got a healthy Charles Cross. Let's get JSN a few more snaps out there. Let's utilize this guy. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a talented player, and I think it's only a matter of time before he blows up on the field. This could be the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, to go back to what I just said, I also have JSN down a small bet to get his first touchdown as well. It's all fun. I bet in small increments and just have a blast doing it. But yeah, let's take advantage, right? I went into it a lot in our bye week episode, just talking about the type of player that JSN is and how I think we should utilize him. And that was in short to intermediate routes that require him to drop his hips and utilize his short area quickness in order to create separation. Cincinnati is one of the heavier blitz rate teams in the league. So they play these softer zones because they're trying not to get beat deep, and they're banking on pressure from bringing additional defensive personnel on blitzes. So let's utilize these short throws. Let's get JSN the ball. I'm totally fine with him catching a 3-yard route off to the side. Let him work to the sideline, work up the sideline. Let's see some switches, some of those basketball style screens that are illegal, but every team runs. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Let's just not run football screens because the Seahawks don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Again, we talked a little again in the bye week episode. If you guys want to go back and watch that, we talked a little bit about what do we think could help with those screens. Kenny McIntosh, if he ever makes it on the field, that's when I think we need to start talking about screens. Also, D. Eskridge, another guy coming back that I think we could utilize in that screen game. Let's not focus so much on that for this game because we don't have the personnel clearly to do it. The other thing is when we say control the zone, also defense. Look, you already mentioned that the Bengals play a soft zone because they bring extra blitzers. The Seahawks don't blitz a ton, but we definitely play soft zones in the middle of that field, and people have been feasting because of that. That's been the bugaboo. We've been allowing people to convert on third downs because that zone is almost always open on third down. We've got to lock that up. I think the key to that's going to be Jamal Adams. That's where he lives. Hopefully he stays healthy for this entire game, knock on wood, and prevents the Bengals from feasting in those soft zones. So yeah, let's hopefully see some big nickel out there. Let's get Jamal Adams involved and keep the Bengals out of that zone.
Yeah, I'll take it one step further. You saw a little bit of change in the Giants game. Maybe a couple plays that were against this in the Panthers game. But before that, not only was the defense playing soft zones, but the zones themselves, the defense was soft, right? Not just, but how they were playing. We were missing tackles because guys were timid when they were going after it. It was not Seahawks defensive football. So let's be aggressive. Let's get in there. Keep the fundamentals and technique, Jamal Adams, right? Let's keep the head up. Let's go for the nice, solid tackle. Let's not go for these big blow guys up hits. Let's wrap it up, take guys to the ground, and, live to get off the field so the offense can get the ball back. Our third key to success is don't chase. Now, don't chase, right?
Right. Yeah, I spoiled it a little bit because I think I threw that line out there a little bit earlier. But again, falling behind against the Bengals is not a good idea. Okay, so let's come out, let's score early, let's keep pace with them. I don't want to go into that fourth quarter or even the second half behind 1+ scores. It's not the way that this team is built to play right now. And I think that the thing that we want to do, the thing that we've seen that works with this team in the past and so far this year, is go into that fourth quarter with a lead and let the defense go after the quarterback. So yeah, let's try and keep one, keep Chase out of the end zone, and two, don't let Chase get behind the defense. Look, I love Quandre Diggs. I still think he is one of the best free safeties in the league. He struggled a little bit early on in this year. He came on big in the Giants game, got that interception, that looked great. I want him to play deep. He should be playing deep now that we've got Jamal Adams and we're going to have him and Love on the field together. Quandre doesn't need to be coming up helping in run support. He can stay back there and patrol that middle zone. But we cannot let Jamar Chase get behind this defense because if he does, he's going to score. That's what the man does. So yeah, let's not chase them. Let's make them chase us.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about that, just go ask the Arizona Cardinals how hard it is to tackle and cover Chase. I'll take it one step further. We need to find ways to lock down Jamar Chase. You go out there and make...
Easier said than done.
Yeah. Make recently returned from the injury list, missing multiple games, T. Higgins be the wide receiver that beats us. Right? Go out there and shut down their number one so they have to find something. And if you shut down their number one, hopefully that aggressive pass rush, which we've finally seen aggressive pass rush calls being made, hopefully they get home like they did against New York as Joe Burrow is going through his progressions, knowing that number one has been shut down.
Yeah, look, the Bengals have a weakness. It's their offensive line. So we need to take advantage of that.
All right, number 4 is keep up the pressure. I just kind of teased it, right?
Yeah,
the Seahawks have not been a team that blitzes a lot. We tried to get home with base personnel. Now that they went to a 3-4, you could kind of call it blitzing because you have an outside linebacker going every play, but it's essentially what they were running before as far as a pressure package was. So let's keep these blitzes. I mean, we saw Jamal Adams blitz against the Giants. We saw Witherspoon blitz. We had 11 sacks. Only 5 of those sacks came from defensive linemen or primary rush type
Pass
personnel. 6 sacks were in the secondary or in the inside linebackers, which traditionally don't blitz in this particular style of defense. So let's see the stunts that we were seeing. Darrell Taylor had probably one of the best selfless do your job type of plays on one of Witherspoon's sacks. And if I have a chance to do some film breakdown, we can throw that in there. But you see Witherspoon come in and he goes right to the inside shoulder of the tackle, knowing he was going to get swallowed up and engulfed by this big offensive lineman. But that caused that offensive tackle to turn his shoulders, and Witherspoon perfectly timed that blitz. It was a selfless act by Taylor. Let's see these guys play for each other, just like they were playing against the Giants. That will be huge and pay dividends, as it did with 11 sacks against New York.
Yeah, I mean, look, you said it there. I mean, now that Jamal Adams is back, we need to be utilizing him as a pass rusher when we can. But the only advantage to a 3-4 defense over a 4-3 is that it's not obvious who the pass rusher is on every down. So let's mix it up. Let's keep them guessing. Let's utilize the guys in the secondary. Let's utilize Bobby. When he we can to get him in there with a sack. I do want to tease this though, since Robbie already talked about possibly doing some film breakdown. Look for Overtime with Robert Smith film breakdown coming soon this year. It's going to happen, guys. Look out for it. But yeah, look. Keep up the pressure. We've been looking great the last several weeks. Obviously, the Giants game was where we really kind of blew it up. As suspect as the Giants' offensive line is, the Bengals' offensive line is just, if not more, suspect. Yes, completely different quarterbacks. Daniel Jones is not Joe Burrow, but let's keep the pressure up.
Yeah, I forget which tackle it is, if it's the right or the left tackle for the Bengals, but one of their tackles has the lowest PFF pass block grade in the NFL. I think, period, but I'm going to add the caveat as a starter.
At his position. All right, well, there you go.
So there could be pressures to be had. Pressures aplenty. So let's hit it hard. Let's make those guys work, and let's make Joe Burrow test out that calf that he missed those games with. All right, our 5th key to success. Pro Bowl kicker. When I said this, Adam gave me a very disappointed look. Listen, this is actually a positive thing. This is not me rubbing in the fact that Myers is the 2nd highest paid kicker in the league, who has the 2nd lowest field goal percentage in the league currently.
But we started with that anyway.
But we did, because it's worth noting. Did the bye week allow Myers to reset, right? Was he able to kind of clear those mental cobwebs, get that ice back in his veins, and kind of reset his skills back to that Pro Bowl kicker that he was last year, that the Seahawks gave him that contract because of? So hopefully this bye week was a reset for not only injuries on the roster, but a reset for that special teams unit, who's been playing great outside of a few extra balls going wide of the goalposts.
You can just say it. Outside of Jason Myers, our special teams has been amazing. Look, I love Jason Myers. I have faith that he can shake this odd season monkey that's been on his back for the last, I guess, his entire career. Honestly, this is the time to do it. We need him. Look, I think we're going to be in a position to get in the red zone a lot this game. Hopefully, we can convert those to touchdowns. But if we can't, we cannot come away from a drive on their half of the field without points, which means Jason Myers has got to be on point this game. I'm not going to say perfect. That's what I want. But at the very least, he's got to be able to make some of these kicks. especially extra points. We can't leave that 1 point on the field, guys. So yeah, look, he is a Pro Bowl kicker. We'll see if he's a Pro Bowl kicker this year.
All right, and then Adam does a great job controlling the banners that we throw up on this podcast as we were live streaming. But I'm going to throw a little wrench in the chain here. I'm adding Rob's bonus key to success that Adam has no clue about because I decided to do it about 10 seconds before I hit the go live button. And that is we need to improve on third down. This is something I brought up in our bye week episode. One of the main things I would focus on through the bye week in order to improve the team coming out on the other side. Our offense is only converting 28.9% of their third downs.
Not good.
And our defense has allowed 52.4% of third downs. You're on the wrong side of the spectrum, right? We need those numbers to be flipped. And hopefully the coaching staff and the respective units on the team have taken that into account and worked on their third down efficiency on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think we've already given away the key to that. Number one is when offense is out there on third down, utilize Jackson Smith and Jigba. The guy is automatic. I mean, like, just get him the ball. If it's within 3 yards, he'll get for you. He can make one guy miss almost every time. That's his skill. The guy can do it. Get him the ball with just a little bit of space. He'll get you what you need. And the other thing was obviously controlling the zone on defense, and that's Jamal Adams' job. Let him kind of roam that area where we vacated going to this 3-4. But yeah, I mean, that's it, guys. I mean, we've got the personnel. We just need to do it.
All right. So we like to do position group comparisons.
We do.
Where we say, okay, I'm going to look at your quarterback room versus our quarterback room, and who do I think has the edge? And we do that with every main position group on the team. Looking at this quarterback matchup, Geno Smith playing great. Joe Burrow looked like Joe Burrow of old against the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm going to actually give this a push. I'm going to give it a tie between the Bengals and the Seahawks.
Yeah, look, I was right there with you at the beginning of this, and I gave this a push as well. But you know what? I'm going to switch it up. Robbie can pull a fast one. I'm pulling a fast one, and I'm going to give us the edge, only because it looks like Drew Lock's going to be healthy going into this game. And the one thing I'm not concerned about is if Geno Smith goes down, are we still going to be able to keep this offense going? The answer is yes. Drew Lock can run this offense. So I'm going to give us the edge because it is still a complete quarterback room. I completely forgot who the backup quarterback is for the Bengals, but he's no Joe Burrow. So I'm going to give us the edge on this.
All right. In that running backs room, it pained me, right? They have Joe Mixon. They have Williams as the number 2. They have a rookie that I really like in Chase Brown as their number 3 back. I like what we have, but when I look at all the players and kind of add up value that I assigned them mentally, I got to give the slight edge to Cincinnati. It's close, but I'm going Cincinnati with the running backs.
See, I think Robbie's just doing this because he can't give it all to the Seahawks. He feels like he's got to balance it out somehow. I can't go there with you, man. I've got to give this to the Seahawks, and I don't even think it's particularly that close. Look, yeah, Joe Mixon's been a workhorse for his entire career. The man is a beast, but he's on the downside of his career. He has not looked like the same guy over the last couple of years. And as much as I think, Williams is a good third down back, good catcher out of the backfield, and we like what we saw at Chase Brown in college. We haven't seen Chase Brown in the NFL. I don't know. Can he play in the NFL? I don't know. I think he probably can, but we haven't seen it. I know Kenneth Walker is still an ascending player. He has not reached his peak yet, and that's scary because Kenneth Walker's if this is just his beginning or his basement, the ceiling is astronomical. And I think the same can be said for Zach Charbonnet. He has looked better and better as the season has gone on. He's looked better each game, and I can't wait till this guy really gets going. So I don't think this is particularly close. And you throw DJ Dallas in there, yeah, I'll give it to the Seahawks all day and twice on Sunday.
Well, hopefully they give it to him at least more than twice on Sunday, right? We need these running backs running the ball. As far as game performance, I expect the Seahawks to outperform the Cincinnati Bengals, I was going off of paper roster spots, basically. Well, you got to think Cincinnati is second to last in the league, are a top 10 defense, or no, they're number one in stopping the run and yards per carry. So complete opposite ends of the spectrum for those two running back rooms and what they're going to face. So, hey, you fantasy guys out there might want to think about that if you want to start some Seahawks running backs. All right. Wide receivers, very close. Very close. Jamar Chase is healthy. Looks like T. Higgins is healthy. They also have a promising rookie. But I gave the edge to the Seahawks just slight. Just a hair above. I gave the edge to the Seahawks.
Don't forget about Tyler Boyd. They've got a great slot receiver in Tyler Boyd. But yeah, look, I'm this is my first push. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a homer, but I do think that pound for pound, the Seahawks wide receiver room is one of the best in the league. It's not as heralded as the Bengals has been, because it's just not as, it hasn't been that kind of a high powered offense. We don't throw it all over the yard the way the Bengals do. And we also don't have a guy like Jamar Chase that's just blowing up the league. But we also aren't feeding a guy 13, 14 times a game. So I'm going to give this a push. I think when it comes to just making plays when they get their opportunities, I think the Seahawks are on par with any team in the league, and that includes the stacked Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver room.
Yeah. So the tight end room, on this podcast, we've been very vocal about how much we like tight ends and how their usage helps teams in every aspect of offensive football. Our tight end room is stacked, right? All three of our top three guys can get it done. I mean, it's so good that we carry a fourth tight end on our team, and he's out there tearing it up in special teams because he can't get on the field in offense, because our first, second, and third tight end could all be number ones out in the league. So I'm giving this to the Seahawks, hands down, not even question it. Seahawks take this tight end matchup.
Yeah, look, there's definitely, I mean, they have a tight end over there in Cincinnati that can make plays, but it's one guy. There's not depth behind him. We have three guys that can all make plays. This isn't particularly close. Seahawks tight ends all the way.
I'm going to give some offensive line love to the Seahawks. I have spent the last probably 3 weeks, because I'm pretty sure in the Rams game I gave the Seahawks the edge, but I have been just hating on the Seahawks offensive line in this position comparison segment of our show, because we've had injuries, weren't sure what we had. This offensive line played great, and now we're getting our starting left tackle back. I'm going to give this matchup to the Seahawks.
Yeah, again, this isn't particularly close for me. I mean, our backups have played better than the Bengals' starting offensive line. So now that we've got our starting left tackle back, this should be no contest when it comes to what O-line plays better. Now, again, I'm going to knock on wood, but I'm going to give it to the Seahawks.
All right, defensive line. I like Trey Hendricks. I like what he brings to the table for that Cincinnati Bengals. They're stout on the interior as well. They play a 4-down front, which a lot more teams are moving to the 3-4. We've seen quite a few 3-4 teams already this year. And you got to look back to the Detroit Lions. They play a 4-down front. Aiden Hutchinson, we were able to control him with those backup tackles, but he was a handful. And I see Trey Hendricks Hendrickson kind of being that same type of player, not necessarily to the same degree, but he has a relentless motor. He's always out there getting after it. I'm going to give this matchup to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I was almost right there with you. I mean, you got to throw DJ Reader in there, great defensive tackle. They've got some guys, but this Seahawks defensive line has been playing lights out, especially the last 3 weeks of the season. So I'm actually going to give this a push, because I think again, you just look at how guys have been playing. Our defense has won some games for us. You can't say the same about the Bengals defense.
All right, linebackers, and this might be where we differ, is because I put Mafe and Nwosu in the linebacker category because that's the
because
position they
that's their
play,
position.
right?
Yeah.
So I give the linebackers to the Seahawks. Love what Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks have been doing. Got to love our pass rushers as well out there at the outside linebacker. I don't see the linebacker group close at all, so I gave this to the Seahawks.
Yeah, look, even if it was just Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks that we were talking about, and you weren't including the pass rusher, I'd still give this to the Seahawks. The ageless wonder that is Bobby Wagner has been the edge in a lot of games for us this year. The man is literally on pace for over 200 tackles this season. Probably not going to happen, but that's what he's been playing at right now. So it could possibly happen. Yeah, again, not particularly close. Our linebackers all the way. Man, I'm turning into the homer on this podcast, man.
You
I
are.
haven't
Normally
given a
it's me.
single matchup. I know.
All right, for the defensive back, Seahawks all the way. Sorry, I paused. I didn't mean to pause. It's Seahawks, hands down, top to bottom, every position on the field. Seahawks.
Yeah.
I want to see the talent that we have in the secondary show up on the field. I penalized them for that against the Giants. I said, I don't care how good they are. I don't care how they match up. I gave it to the Giants because we were allowing ridiculous yards in receiving, and that's 100% the secondary. It's mostly on the coaching staff because this coverage scheme is atrocious. But let's see the talent that we have in the players step up. I'm going to give this matchup, this comparison, to the Seahawks. Prove me right, guys. You can do it.
Yeah, look, I honestly think that this is the most talented secondary in the history of the Seattle Seahawks. I didn't say best. Most talented.
Player for player.
Yeah, player for player. I mean, like we have guys that are all elite talents in the secondary. Whether you're talking about Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, who I know won't be playing this game, but still Kobe Bryant. Julian Love, Quandre Diggs, and Jamal Adams. Now, look, they may not be playing the way that the Legion Boom did in their heyday, but again, as far as talent goes, this is the most talented secondary the Seahawks have ever had. Show us that that's the case, please. We need to see it.
All right, Adam. Give me your prediction and your final thoughts going into this game.
So game prediction, look, I went back and forth on this a little bit. This is what I'm going to give you is what I really want to see happen. And the reason I want to see this happen is because in my game prediction, we only take one field goal all game. I think Jason Meyer can handle that. He can handle one field goal. Pretty sure he can do that. So my game prediction right now is the Seahawks take this game 31-27. I think it's going to be close, but I think the Seahawks have the edge. So please let that be the case. Again, Jason, look, if you get in there, please make all of the kicks that we give you. But I'm hoping we don't have to rely on your leg just because, again, odd season. As far as my final thoughts, man, I don't know how much more I have to say. I mean, the Seahawks, I think, are the better team, whether you want to talk about on paper or just the talent in the room. The Bengals have definitely been the better team when you look at how their seasons have gone since Joe Burrow got there. But I think we've got more talent, and I think that this Seahawks team needs to continue to prove the doubters wrong because people still think that it's a mirage. They said, see, look, we lost week 1 against the Rams. The Seahawks shouldn't have made the playoffs last year. There's a reason why we put them number 32 in the rankings to start the season in 2022. Let's keep proving them wrong.
All right. You got to love the motivation. You got to love the bulletin board right there by Adam. So I do predict one thing to happen as part of my prediction. I think Myers does miss another kick. Let's hope it's an extra point and not a field goal. But I believe he misses at least one kick. But we see him look good in other opportunities, and he's on his way back to being the player that we expected him to be. Knowing full well that this is an odd year. An even. No, it's odd. It's right. An odd year, which is when he has issues. All right. My prediction in this game is Seattle 34, Cincinnati 27. High scoring
All
game.
right.
Listen, I think
Yeah.
the Seahawks are going to run all over this team. I think that's going to set up some play action passing. Like I said, I expect JSN to get his first touchdown. I expect Charbonnet to get his first touchdown. And I think the Seahawks can do it. I think they're coming out really prepared out of this bye week. They've broken down that film from Arizona. They know if there's any little misstep with Burrow, they're going to find it. I fully expect a high flying, high scoring game here by the Seahawks. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this game. I think the defense gives up a little more points than I would like to see, as I have Cincinnati scoring 27 points. But we're still going to see that pressure. The Seahawks defense is allowing a lot more red zone scoring than I would like, and that's where I believe a lot of that comes from. So let's get out there. Let's support the team. Let's send all that positive energy out into the universe, because I really want the Seahawks to win this game. I want the national media, the East Coast based media, to start putting some respect in their mouth when they talk about the Seahawks. Thank you for watching the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast. If you're out there in the audio only podcast world, please subscribe and rate our podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. If you're watching us on YouTube, where we live stream record this so we don't take a bunch of takes, then give us subscribe as well. Like the video, share it with your friends, hit us up in the comments, reach out to us on Twitter, and just tell us how we've been. Thank you. And as always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.